I ended up going with Practicum. Practicum allowed me to keep my job.
Hey, y'all popping up everywhere today, huh?
You got no warrants left.
Via Omaha Cop Watch Live, 2 police officers stop and frisk a black man minding his own business on the sidewalk.
There's your ID back. You're good to go. I'm gonna trust you. You don't have any warrants. Okay? Have a good one.
Hey, what's the name of Bass number, man?
Have a good one.
What's the name of Bass number, dude?
2207. Sights it.
What about you?
2270.
Now, why did you have your gun out on that dude, man?
Hey, you guys can't. You gotta go to the back of the car.
Just asking the question, man. Don't do that no more, man.
Have a good one, sir.
Amazingly, once someone with a camera shows up, they get out of there quick. And it is a fair question. Why did this officer have his firearm out in his hand? It reminds me of something famed New York rapper KRS-One said.
This is the problem with the United States. There's no leadership. A leader would say, police brutality is an oxymoron. There are no brutal police. The minute you become brutal, you're no longer the police. So what we're dealing with out here, we're not dealing with police. We're dealing with a federally authorized gang.
Which we have discussed on this very channel. Many in the country learned who this sheriff was because it was his deputies that he's in charge of that went to the helicopter crash site of the tragedy that occurred with Kobe Bryant and many others. Those deputies, with the freshly deceased bodies on the ground, took photos of them, and then they sent them around, and then they sent them around some more. And then it got so bad that the allegations are one deputy who was at a bar, I believe in Norwalk, showed the pictures he took on his phone to patrons at the bar. So here's the thing. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva is a big Fox News guy. We also learn, per Vanessa Bryant's suit, Villanueva instructed the deputies to immediately destroy the evidence and gave no discipline to Deputy Johnson and the other deputies involved, just as the sheriff continues to engage in wrongful conduct because no one holds him accountable for it. Deputy Johnson continued to engage in wrongful conduct because the sheriff did not hold him accountable. So Villanueva oversees that department, which has a history of its own.
Let's do a quick run through of the gangs of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. All of them have stuff in common. You usually have official gang tattoos, a hand signal, and a way to join, usually by shooting or killing a civilian or doing something like falsifying paperwork. There are the Little Devils, Posse, the Wayside Whiteys, the 2000 Boys, the 3000 Boys, the Jump Out Boys, the Banditos, the Executioners, the Spartans, the Cowboys, the Rattlesnakes, and the Tasmanian Devils.
Are there gangs within the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department?
They operate as a gang. They commit crimes, they assault people.
What are the benefits of joining the gang?
The benefits will be like any other street gang. You know, it's power, money.
How do they identify themselves?
With a tattoo.
Is there an initiation process to join the gang?
You could say that. They could go from you getting a shooting or, you know, they do anything for these guys.
You said they get shootings. What do you mean by that?
If you get in a shooting, that's a definite brownie point.
And according to these deputies, to justify those shootings, they plant weapons on the people they stop.
There's been multiple occasions where they say, hey, we got a guy that has a gun and he's running from us. In reality, that person never had a gun. And they would say, oh, it was a phantom gun. It was something that really wasn't there.
So you have personally witnessed that?
Yes.
Some of the parents accuse members of the Banditos of using part of this as an initiation ritual. Is that true?
Yes.
In June, the New Yorker picked up on this story. According to a lawsuit, filed by 8 East LA deputies and the ACLU. The Banditos gang controls the East Los Angeles station like inmates running a prison yard. Leaders, known as shot callers, determine deputies' hours, promotions, even days off. On patrol, they operated in the gray areas of law enforcement. They perpetuated, according to a former officer, the code of silence, the culture of the ghetto gunslinger. She added, what makes East LA so unique is it's embedded within the Hispanic machismo culture and the Hispanic street gangs. According to people who know the department well, the Banditos are thriving under Villanueva. Robert Zullo, a veteran newsman, wrote for the Virginia Mercury the following. He covered the candidates vying to replace a longtime South Louisiana sheriff and Godfrey Doc Bouquet, a retired chief of detectives. I was in a gang, Doc said he told young offenders, as something like an icebreaker during volunteer work in his spare time. It's called the police. Zullo reflects, closing ranks around people who shouldn't be wearing a badge, defending the indefensible, embellishing or manufacturing threats to justify beatings, shootings, arrests, or harassment. And even when they were caught red-handed, there were often few, if any, repercussions. Of course, the consequences of this version fell hardest on the most heavily policed and brutalized black communities. Many police departments around the country have been giving us nearly daily examples of why they need to be reined in, like when the Richmond police, without warning, deployed tear gas on peaceful protesters, falsely claiming it was about officer safety and refusing to answer questions about discipline, despite profuse apologies from the mayor and police, shoving elderly people to the ground, pepper spraying and arresting people whose only offense is mouthing off, and beating and shooting journalists and others in the face with rubber bullets isn't the way to convince the citizenry that business as usual is fine.